I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is going to be one of the last videos of 2025. And traditionally at the end of the year, I would do a roundup of my best and worst Hermes purchases. Except this year, there has been none, surprisingly. So I thought today we could have a little heart-to-heart about what went down that made me stop buying Hermes. And this is not me sitting here complaining about the Hermes game or bad-mouthing the brand. It's just me sharing my personal experience as someone who has owned and shopped Hermes for over a decade, someone who understands the system and isn't just speculating, but simply sharing my lived experience. So if you'd like to find out why I stopped buying Hermes in 2025 and what my plans are going into the new year, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on watching. Let me start out by emphasizing that this video is not about Hermes being a sinister brand. They are still one of the most iconic and most beloved luxury houses in the world, and there is a reason for that. Their craftsmanship is truly exceptional and their heritage is very much real. But over the past couple of years, I have been quietly questioning whether or not the Hermes game still makes sense to me personally. And I wanted to share with you some of the things that I have come to realize that I feel may also resonate with you. Now, if you still love the brand, I do too. I still have a tremendous amount of appreciation for Hermes, and I don't see myself not talking about them ever again, but it is just not a brand that I want to pour my hard-earned money into. And let's start with the obvious reason. Of course, their craftsmanship is still exceptional. There is no argument about that. There is nothing quite like Hermes, although I do think that there are brands that come extremely close. But the uncomfortable truth is that yes, an Hermes bag can be exceptionally made using the most precious materials by a single craftsperson who spends years, if not decades, training to be able to put an Hermes bag together. All of this is beautiful. However, that doesn't automatically mean that it justifies the price when it comes to a piece that you want to use on a regular basis. Because what I have come to realize is that just because a bag is made like a piece of art doesn't necessarily mean that it translates to something that you appreciate using on a daily basis. It is true that an Hermes bag is crafted by a single person with painstaking attention to details. It takes them hours and hours to put a single bag together by hand. But I really don't feel that there is that much of a difference between using an Hermes bag and a bag that was also crafted by an artisan from a different brand. Yes, there are of course going to be slight differences, but when it comes to the overall user experience and using a bag on a daily basis, I don't always feel that the price is justified, especially when you consider all the other baggage that comes with an Hermes bag. Because of course, if you buy a bag that costs tens of thousands of dollars, most likely it is something that you will want to be incredibly careful with. At least I know that when I go out with something that costs a limb pretty much, it is something that I'm going to baby. I'm going to be careful with how I wear it, what the weather is like, who is around me, where I put my bag down. And when a bag becomes something that I'm afraid to use or I have to worry about using daily, I have to ask myself the question, what am I really paying for? Because luxury to me is something that should elevate my life and not complicate it. I think it is a sentiment that I mentioned in one of my recent videos. I think it was my video comparing Loro Piana with Brunello Cucinelli, that for years I was convinced that the more expensive something was, the better the quality and the fit had to be. But I don't think that's always the case. I mean, we know it from buying brands like Chanel, whose quality has been famously declining, that just because something costs a small fortune doesn't necessarily mean that it is going to be the best quality. And this year I have discovered so many incredible contemporary brands that offer exceptional craftsmanship, precious materials, original designs at a much more accessible price point that I really don't feel like I have the need to spend thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars to get something that is beautifully made, something that will add value and joy to my collection without all the baggage that an Hermes bag comes with, quite literally. And one of those brands is Fabrique. Now, Fabrique is a collective designer brand, which means that they don't just have a single creative director at the helm of the house. Instead, they work with over 350 exceptional designers from houses like Louis Vuitton, Dior, and Hermes. And their exclusivity doesn't come from inaccessible prices, but their pieces are exclusive because they are crafted in extremely small quantities. Everything that they do is limited edition, so the odds of you bumping into someone who's carrying the same bag or the same piece as you are extremely low, which is quite the luxury in this day and age when it feels like that everyone is wearing the same bags and same pieces of jewelry. Now, I did work with Fabrique earlier this year on the launch of their first bag collection, and I was really excited to be working with them again because I have been loving my Fabrique bags this year, especially this one, which is the Duomo bag, and it's something that we'll come back to in just a second, but it's something that I have already gotten so much wear out of. And their entire bag range was designed by an incredible designer named Valeria Massi, who previously worked at Bottega, and she was responsible for creating some of their most iconic bags under Daniel Lee, bags that I know for a fact you'll be familiar with, bags like the Bottega Cosette and pouch bags, which are to this day some of the most iconic creations from the house. But earlier this year, she was given the opportunity to really create the bag universe for Fabrique, and she did not hold back. Most of her pieces are inspired by her love for her hometown, Italy, and the architecture in Milan. This is the Duomo bag, which, as the name suggests, is inspired by the iconic Duomo in Italy. This is in the largest size in black leather, which I have been getting a ton of wear out of. So I wanted to give the medium Duomo bag a try, which the large bag, as I mentioned, measures 38 centimeters, whereas the medium Duomo bag measures 30 centimeters, and it still really comfortably fits a 15-inch Mac. I'll definitely show you what you can fit in this bag exactly. It fits a Mac, it also fits a water bottle, it fits all my daily essentials. The only thing that I would not want to squeeze in here is a pair of sneakers when going to the gym, but other than that, it fits everything that I could possibly need. It is made of the most buttery velvety suede in this decadent, delicious, warm caramel brown, which I think they call saddle brown. It is just beautiful, and it features all the details that I love the large Duomo bag for. So you have the adjustable handles, which means you can carry this either handheld as a shoulder bag, or you can really easily and seamlessly turn this into a crossbody bag within seconds, and without the need for an additional strap. The handle is adjustable, and it is long enough for you to really comfortably carry it as a crossbody bag, which I love. But there is another bag that I got to play around with, which is their new Navili shoulder bag. It is something that I was actually inspired by a Dior bag to pick up. I was at Dior, I want to say a few weeks ago, and I saw their new The Journey bag, which is not a brand new launch. It's something that had been out for a while, but it was actually my first time seeing that bag in person, and I was quite tempted by the shape, so I was going back and forth. But then I came across this bag from Fabrique, which had a similar shape to it, and I'm so glad that this is the bag I opted for instead of the Dior one, because this feels so much more elegant, sophisticated, and also understated. But it has a similar really relaxed but elegant shape to it. It is actually inspired by another architectural site in Milan, and it is something that pays tribute to the historic canals in Milan, and you can tell by its really soft, curved, almost drapey V shape, which beautifully expands if you want to pack this bag more. This is actually a bag that will fit a ton. It is something that really easily fits a larger phone or your daily essentials, so card holder. I was also able to put my passport in here. It also fits a book and a water bottle really easily. And if you want to fill this bag up, it really nicely expands into a fuller, almost baguette shape. And this particular bag is made of a really soft grained Napa leather, which feels unbelievably luxurious. And then you do have a very similar adjustable strap to the one that you'll find on the Duomo bag. In fact, it's so similar that I have also replaced this strap with the strap that comes with my large Duomo bag, so I can carry this crossbody as a more casual creation. But if you love a shoulder bag or just a little pouch that you can grab, this I think is something that you will absolutely adore. I do of course have a discount code with Fabrique, which I mean these bags are already quite accessible. They are by not any means inexpensive. You are still getting a luxury quality bag with these purchases. But if you would like to make them a little bit more accessible, I will not only leave them linked in the info box, but I will also leave my discount code down there. And speaking of Fabrique, of course, they are better known for their clothing. It is only just this year that they launched their first bag collection, but they have been doing ready to wear for years. However, their ready to wear is targeted at women. They only offer women's pieces. So I was really excited when they offered me the chance to try on some of their pieces of clothing. In fact, I might be wrong, but I think I might be the first male creator that they're working with on their ready-to-wear line, which I'm just so honored by. But I got to try two pieces from Fabrique, one of which is this incredible Fair Isle cardigan in merino wool, which I have been wearing non-stop for the past week. In fact, I had 3 festive dinners, 2 of which I wore this cardigan to. As I mentioned, Fabrique doesn't have a single designer. Instead, they work with several different designers, hundreds of them. And this is a piece that was designed by Rome-based designer Daphne Wright, who I think is best known for her work at Valentino. This is an incredibly soft, plush, but really chunky, oversized cardigan with this traditional Fair Isle technique. It not only features several different geometric patterns, which is of course what Fair Isle is, but it also blends different textures. So the sleeve has these really cool boucle textures with the chunky Fair Isle knit, and then it also has these vintage horn closures, which I think goes so well with this really cozy, oversized Nordic look. One thing that I would say is that I would encourage you to size down, because this piece is incredibly oversized. It's really heavy, really soft, really plush, which is the kind of quality that I would expect from Fabrique at this point. And since so many of you loved my shearling jacket that I shared in one of my last vlogs, I wanted to try a style from Fabrique, and this aviator style vegan shearling jacket was actually designed by a British designer, Hannah Cook, who previously worked with British household names like Burberry, McQueen, and even Stella McCartney. And it comes in this really interesting brownish, almost maroon shade. It has a really interesting red undertone to it, which I picked up in size medium. It is again quite oversized, so I wanted to go for a smaller size. I got a large in the cardigan. I could have also gone for, to be honest, a medium, because this is so oversized, but medium in this jacket is just the perfect size. But I know that I got some questions about the shipping for Fabrique, because currently they only ship to the US, Canada, the UK, and Singapore. And I know that a lot of you wanted to try their pieces in Europe and other parts of Asia. Currently, there is no worldwide shipping. However, it's something that Fabrique is working on. They are currently trying to expand their shipping to offer worldwide shipping, and it's hopefully coming next year, which you will be the first to know because I did ask the brand to keep me posted as soon as they have an update. But for now, if you live in the US, Canada, the UK, or Singapore, you get to enjoy Fabrique pieces. So I will make sure to have every item with the corresponding discount codes listed and linked in the info box. As you can tell, you no longer need to spend Hermès or other traditional ultra luxury prices to get a design that feels original, that looks and feels like $1,000,000, something that will add value to your collection and to an outfit and just looks really polished and refined. In fact, these pieces might just be even more luxurious because, as I said, luxury is something that should elevate your life, not complicated, and these are things that you can enjoy freely. And that also says a lot about my change in lifestyle. As some of you will know, I moved to Amsterdam a few years ago, which is one of the most casual, most walkable cities. I got Pi, who needs 3 to 4 walks a day. Also, I am back at school getting my second degree in clinical psychology, and all I do these days is work from home, go to class, and then go to the gym. And I really don't feel that Hermes bags fit into my lifestyle. And when I started forcing myself to carry these expensive bags, it just started feeling kind of performative, because at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. I have a wardrobe filled with these incredibly expensive designer bags from Hermes and Chanel, yet you see me in vlogs. These are the bags, like my Duomo bags, that I carry on a regular basis, and the bags that I intentionally go for. Even though I would have the chance to carry an Hermes bag or a Chanel bag, I just really don't think that I get as much joy out of them as I used to. I don't think that they are an authentic representation of my aesthetic and my taste. At this point, they have become quite loud, quite predictable, and even overdone. Now, of course, it also depends on where you live. I am by no means saying that every single person in the world is carrying an Hermes bag, although it can often feel like it because of social media. And social media is definitely something that has damaged what Hermes meant to me. Now, I am very much aware that I am part of the problem, considering that I've been on here for 5 years talking about Hermes. But what I would like to think, what I hope, is that my content did not largely contribute to Hermes being turned into this trophy brand that's all about numbers and flex culture. I feel like a lot of content revolves around how many bags can you get offered, how big of a haul can you do, how can you find loopholes in the system, and what owning an Hermes bag conveys. I mean, I'm sure that it is something that I contributed to some extent, but at some point there was a point in time when Hermes felt discreet, it felt personal. Hermes was all about family values, considering that to this day they are a family-owned company. It really felt just kind of warm and cozy, whereas now I think the essence of the brand has changed, and as I said, it's become about what it means owning an Hermes bag. I actually got a beautiful comment on one of my videos. I think it was my video ranking my entire Hermes bag collection, which it actually took me years to do one of those videos, because I did not feel that it would add any value to your life, me sitting here and showing you a ton of bags. I wanted to find a way that made it feel a little bit more educational, or it also added value to your life. And I got a beautiful comment. I can't remember the exact wording, but it said something along the lines of, and I'm going to be paraphrasing, that I appreciate you talking about your love and appreciation for the craftsmanship and the artistry behind Hermes, rather than what it means carrying one of these bags. And I just felt really seen by that comment, because this has always been my goal, and I'm sure that I got off that path at certain points, but I really always wanted to make sure that my content adds value to your life, and it's not just about showing off or talking about why you need one of these bags that are so expensive, but it's more about just sharing my love and appreciation for the beautiful facets of Hermes, which there are plenty of, but I think it is being overshadowed by this focus on content consumption and how an Hermes bag is what you need to feel successful or to keep up with the Joneses, when in reality, it really is not going to be life-changing. Are Hermes bags beautiful? Yes. Do you need them? Well, look at me. I have not worn an Hermes bag in pretty much a year, and I am doing better than ever. And while Hermes' craftsmanship is still incredibly strong, their pieces no longer feel the same as they once did. I mean, Hermes is a business at the end of the day. They are very much aware of their success and their power and how popular they've become. And it's something that they are taking full advantage of, as much as they say that they appreciate family values and they are all about quality over quantity. It certainly doesn't feel like it. And I think you can tell that by looking at some of their recent launches. A lot of them are a lot more mass focused, mass inspired, and almost feel mass produced, yet it is not reflective in their prices because their prices are only just hiking. I mean, look at the pace at which they are launching commercial pieces. Here I'm talking about their commercial ready-to-wear pieces, their shoes, their more basic entry-level pieces, even the introduction of makeup and fragrances. Those are all things that they are pushing to bring in profit, which there's nothing wrong with. I completely understand that they are a business at the end of the day, but I do think that they have lost a lot of what we seasoned Hermes lovers used to appreciate them for. Not to mention that shopping at Hermes has really started feeling like pressure instead of pleasure, which is just not something that I'm willing to put up with at these prices, not only because of this mentality of the Hermes game and you having a pre-spend and that becoming more and more prevalent, but also because of the popularity of Hermes. Maybe it's just the mentality at my own store, but it has become so difficult for you to even pass by your home store because they had queues outside the stores. The sales associates were extremely overwhelmed with clients and they did not have the time and the bandwidth to spend, the time that's needed to introduce clients to a full-on luxury brand. So it was all about turning up profit. It was all about selling, rather than spending time with their clients and really giving a luxurious experience. Not to mention that nothing has even really felt revolutionary. I was at Hermes just at the end of last week, and I have to be honest with you, even if I was open to spending thousands of dollars on a new piece of Hermes, I still would have not been able to because there was really nothing that captured my attention. I feel like they are doing the same thing over and over and over again, and maybe I've changed or maybe I just have too much Hermes at this point, which is an extremely privileged problem to have, although I'm not thinking of this as a problem. There was really not a single thing that I was like, you know what, even if money was no object, I would feel comfortable spending money on this. But especially knowing the worth of $1, I'm just not willing to spend money on things that I don't want, things that don't get me excited. And I completely understand that timelessness is part of Hermes' DNA. They were never a house that did revolutionary things every single season, but I think they have become quite boring and lazy. Even their more classic designs, I don't think that they're able to twist and turn the way they used to. Now, I am quite excited that they're going to have a new creative director for their men's collection. I'm excited to see what she does for her first runway show, but as things are now, I really don't think that there's really anything exciting or something that would justify the high price tag when it comes to Hermes. This next point has definitely been a big topic of conversation, which is safety concerns. I feel like all of these things that we've been talking about go hand in hand because of the exposure and the popularity of Hermes on social media. People now know exactly what an Hermes bag is, what it looks like, what it feels like, and what it's worth. So carrying an Hermes bag no longer feels personal and discreet. if anything, it feels kind of exposing, and I think a lot of people feel vulnerable at this point carrying these bags. Now, I have to be honest with you, I have always lived in big cities, so I always knew to be aware of my surroundings, and I've always been incredibly careful with my more precious pieces. But with the increasing number of theft and robbery, it is definitely not something that a lot of people feel comfortable carrying at this point. And I have to be honest, it has also been a consideration for me personally, not to mention that I am spending a fortune on insurance and also renting storage units and safety deposit boxes to store my pieces, because I do not want to have really expensive pieces piled up at home. I'm very grateful to live in a building that has 24-hour security. I have an amazing security system, but still I am spending a fortune on insurance and on renting a safety deposit box. And if you feel more vulnerable and you feel anxious about carrying these bags, I just really don't think, again, it is worth it. And especially if you are no longer able to get joy out of your pieces, if it's causing more headache at the end of the day, I just have to go back to the same point. You might have to ask yourself the question, is it still worth paying a fortune for? And for me, it is just not it, especially because these pieces just no longer fit into my lifestyle. And finally, let's talk about that notorious in-store experience, which I feel like I already touched on, in that Hermès has become a lot more about quantity rather than quality. And that doesn't necessarily just go for their individual pieces and products, but also the relationships that they form with their clients, because shopping at Hermès used to feel really personal and special. As I said, Hermès was all about family values, which, I mean, of course, it is also part of the marketing, but I think it also felt genuine and authentic, and I don't think the same thing can be said. I have to be honest with you, my in-store experience has only been getting worse over the past couple of years, and I'm sure a big part of that is me not being so interested and so invested in Hermès. I am not delusional to the fact that, again, they are a business, so they will invest a lot more effort into the clients that they feel they can get more out of. But I also think that it goes hand in hand. It's kind of a catch-22, because had they invested more into relationship with me, I probably would have stayed a pretty decent client. But I don't really know what came first, the chicken or the egg. Did I get disinterested before my relationship started growing cold, or was it the other way around? All I can say is that I've not had the best experience with Hermès over the past couple of years. It's not really something that I talked about that much, because I didn't want it to come off as me complaining or me thinking that it is the biggest issue, because it's really not. It's not something that I am losing sleep over. But since we are talking about this topic, I want to be 100% honest with you. As I said, I am really not impressed by some of the things that they've been doing. I really haven't enjoyed shopping at Hermès. It didn't feel like pleasure, more like pressure. None of the things that I ever asked for arrived. As you know, I used to pre-order things from the runway, pieces of ready-to-wear that never got delivered without me being told. There were quite a few years when I placed an order for pieces of ready-to-wear that I was waiting on for month and month and month. And even though I would have had the chance to get these pieces abroad while traveling from larger flagships, because I was told that these pieces were coming in, I didn't. And then the end of the season would come around and none of my requests would be delivered, which is fine had I been told, but I had no idea. And again, at the time, I was quite frustrated by it. Now, in hindsight, I'm glad I did not waste my money on those pieces, but it was just not a really luxurious experience. Not to mention that the pieces that I did buy and I had transferred into the store, they always transferred in the wrong size. You may remember that last year I bought 2 pairs of trousers, neither of which fit. I knew that they wouldn't, because I told them what size I needed them in. They said those were not available, so they got them in a size larger. And since they were already at the store, I had to buy them. They promised that they would get them tailored for me and that they would work in the end. And they did not, even after me going back and forth 3 or 4 times meeting with the tailor at the store at times that was convenient for them, not necessarily for me. And then at the end, when they still wouldn't fit, which was obviously really frustrating, they blamed me for going to the gym too often instead of being apologetic about the fact that, hey, these trousers no longer fit, or they never fit and they never will properly. And by the way, those trousers are still sitting in my wardrobe completely unworn. Long story short, we could go on and on and on. At the end of the day, it no longer felt like fun going to Hermes, and I still pop in every now and again, but mainly to see what's new and stay in the loop so I can continue doing the what's new from Hermes videos for you and for me. It's also for myself because I still appreciate Hermes. It's just not really something that I want to personally invest in. And this is really what happened with Hermes over the past year and why I stopped investing in the brand. I think there are a lot of different reasons, but at the end of the day, I have also changed, which is perfectly fine. We grow, we learn, we see new things, and our priorities change. And Hermes is certainly not my priority at this point, especially with everything going on in the world. I can no longer justify spending thousands and thousands of dollars on something that does not bring me joy, happiness, and does not get me excited. But I would love to hear your thoughts when it comes to buying Hermes. Is it still something that you're very much invested in? If you are, I'm so thrilled for you. It's really not something that I'm bitter about. I will continue posting videos on Hermes. I will continue doing your favorite What's New from Hermes updates each and every single month, which is probably the reason it didn't really feel like, up until I started planning this video, I really didn't even realize that I hadn't bought anything from Hermes all year because I was still so invested in the brand. I was still seeing new things all the time. I was still doing videos on the brand that I really did not feel like I was missing out on much. But my Hermes content is not going anywhere, but there are definitely not going to be that many unboxings. I would love to hear your thoughts on Hermes. Where are you at? Are you still planning on buying some things from the brand? Is there a lot still on your wish list? I would love to hear your thoughts. And have you also noticed a big shift in how the brand is operating? Maybe it is just something that is happening at my current home store. Let me know your thoughts, and while you're down there, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I really appreciate you being here and watching, and if you would like to give Fabric a try, don't forget to check out my info box. And if I don't talk to you before Christmas, I hope you have a beautiful festive season, whether you're celebrating Christmas or not. I just hope you get to spend some time with your family, recovering and resting. And I'm really excited to see you back here with a new video really, really soon.